The latest patch for No Man's Sky Voyagers is easily one of the coolest patches they've ever dropped for the game since it launched back in 2016. It's crazy to think it's been out for that long already. And many of you guys are wondering from the first video I put out how to build the specific Corvette that I had shown off in that video, the one you guys are seeing on the screen right now. So by popular demand, here it is. I'll take you guys through how to build it step by step, what pieces you're going to need and what pieces you're going to need to trade for, and about how much money you're gonna have to spend to get this thing up and running. Luckily, it shouldn't take you too long or too much cash to do it because it's pretty entry level and it gives you a place to start from to build onto to make a much more epic version later on. Right after, of course, I tell you about the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN. I know you guys have already heard about them from tons of other creators like me, but I really have used them for years before I even got sponsored, which is why I was really happy to work with them. I got sick of using shady free VPNs, which I knew I couldn't trust with my info just so I could get access to websites that I needed to for work while I'm abroad in Taiwan. So now with Nord, I can do my job and even watch shows that aren't available here in Taiwan as a bonus, like Stargate SG-1, an absolute sci-fi classic. So if you're looking for a reliable VPN service and you want to support my channel along the way, you can head on over to nordvpn.com/morphologist to get a huge discount on a 2-year plan, plus get 4 additional months for free. That's nordvpn.com/morphologist, and if none of it really works for you, you can always get your money back with their 30-day money-back guarantee. Alright, to make things just a little easier, I put together here a list for you with what you need to get, including the amount you need to get and the cost for it if you were to buy it with cash. Feel free to pause here if you need to mark it down or make a screenshot for yourself. Now, keep in mind that you don't need to spend $12.5 million to get all this stuff. You can indeed purchase it from the Corvette workshop, but it's possible to get everything for free with just some time input by finding a planet with salvageable scrap and looking for salvage containers like I showed you guys in my previous guide. With this, you'll be able to trade for everything you need from the Corvette terminal. And I've also had a little bit more time with trading, so I can tell you now that just because it says the odds of exchange are low doesn't necessarily mean it won't give you what you want, even if it's like 10 or 15%. It's just a lower chance of happening. So I would recommend you try everything you have in the lowest quantity to trade for what you want before you give them your most expensive thing. That way you maybe save just a little bit extra for later when you want to upgrade your ship. Now, when you're ready to do the Corvette, you head on over to the Corvette terminal like I showed you in the previous guide, which is going to be found in any station. You'll find this terminal here on one of these big new work pads in the new upgraded stations. And of course, you're gonna wanna start with a new Corvette. Assuming you've got all of the pieces, we're gonna have to start with the landing gear first. We'll place them down on the pad and roughly make them a spacing that allows you to put 2.5 habs in a row. So I'm gonna use 2 Thunderbird habs here and 1 single piece on the end. Now you can use any kind of the 3 habs that you can get in the game right now, any of the 3 styles if you want. The one that I'd shown off originally in the video is gonna be the base Thunderbird hab. That's the one that looks a little bit Star Wars-y, but you can choose whichever style you prefer. If you've assembled it right, it should at least start to look like this. Now, I've only put down 2 landing gear for now. It actually doesn't matter how many you put down, you only need just 1 to make the ship usable, but the more you add, the less the cost is for takeoff, so actually adding more gear does create a benefit for you. Then of course we're going to want to place the Thunderbird cockpit towards the front of the ship, which is where the single hab is for my design, and then after that we need an entrance, so we're going to throw the landing bay at the opposite end. Next, we're going to continue with the base center part of this ship by placing the Medusa reactor 1 block before the end of the ship, just behind the landing bay. Then you're going to find that Zenith reactor class, and you're going to put that behind the Medusa reactor. Now, although these are both called reactors, one of them is giving you much greater range for your jump drive, which is this Zenith class one. So I think it's a good idea to have a combination of both of these for better efficiency and for more range. So now it should look something like this. Next, we're going to throw that high energy shield on the top of the reactor in the back. Then find that Pyro Drive booster and put it on the back, which is going to give us a little bit more maneuverability and boostability. Now, there are a number of different versions of this that you can pick up, so if you've got a better version, go ahead and place that on instead, but this is the one that I'm recommending because it's the one that I used in the video. All right, now we're going to start with the decorations. We're going to start with the firebox cowling, which is going to be placed right up against the Medusa reactor towards the back of the ship. After that, we're gonna grab the Speedbird cowling and we're gonna place it directly in front of the Firebox cowling to make an extension. These things can actually overlap and it gives the effect of it being 3 blocks long instead of just 2 blocks long. It helps make the length of the ship feel a little bit more sleek and arrow-like. Be sure you're leaving a blank spot though in front of it for later because we're gonna add some parts up there once we get to the sides. Next, we're gonna place one of the coolest bits that you should now have, which are the Thunderbird Heavy Boosters. These things are awesome, and I would say they pretty much define the way this thing looks in the rear end. Of all the ones you can find, these are probably my favorite. You're gonna wanna place them on either side on the rearmost block just before the landing bay, following the instructions on the bottom of your screen to tell you which key you need to use to reflect it to be able to place it appropriately. And at this point, your ship should start to look a little bit more like a spaceship. It's finally got its engines and technically it should be flyable now, although it doesn't have any weapons, which is a big problem. We'll get to that in a second. All right, let's make this thing look a little bit sleeker. Starting with these Arcadia blade wedge pieces, which we're gonna place on either end of the Firebox cowling closest to the Medusa reactor. So they're not aligned to the front, they're aligned to the back of this cowling. This helps connect the center of the ship a little bit more with the engine pods and makes the whole shape of it feel a little bit more unified, and I think helps taper the look of the whole ship from the front to the rear much more smoothly. All right, next we're gonna place a couple of wedge pieces directly behind those Arcadia pieces. Now, this can be any kind of wedge piece. I found these Argonaut hydraulic pieces, which I think add a little bit more cool detailing that feels like it's connected to the engine a little bit better. These should overlap with those Titan engines and again, make the whole body of it feel a little bit more unified with the engines. And I think the effect is pretty epic. All right, now it's time for some of the cargo pods. This ship needs a little bit of utility, so I'm gonna recommend using the cylindrical extended cargo pods shown here in the video, placing them 1 block in front of where the engine pods go, leaving a block open for something we're going to add a little bit later. The ship should now look something like this. And to give this thing a little bit more of a communication ability, I think it needs an antenna here on top of the Medusa reactor. I think it feels like an appropriate place for it. All right, now it's time for another really big piece of the way this ship looks, the S-foils from Arcadia. We're gonna place these on top of the rear reactor so they somewhat overlap that booster in the center of the ship that we mounted on the back of the azimuth reactor. The whole thing definitely gives the ship a much sleeker, more aerodynamic look. But we're now missing a little bit of firepower, so let's do that. I recommended the photon array cannons, but if you've got a better set of weapons to place up front, please place them here if you like. I like the way these things look, and plus they're easy to get. You can buy them directly from the shop if you need to. And I recommend placing them here in the front, just behind the front cab. This makes it easier to see, I think, where the rounds are going directly from the cockpit, and they aren't really turrets just yet. They unfortunately can't be manned by friends or shoot off axis, so I wouldn't be too concerned with having full coverage. All right, now you might be thinking that that neck section may look a little bit thin, and that's why I added these seamless windows on the sides of the ship directly underneath the Firebird cowling and just behind the turrets. I think this helps widen out this neck section and make the whole tapered look just feel a little bit smoother when looked at from profile. It also gives that interior space a nice command deck look. We're almost there now, but we need a few extra pieces just to finish off the whole design. We're gonna be adding on 2 more halves on the sides just to give us a little bit more room on the interior to do some more stuff. I'm gonna add these just in front of the engine bay, directly behind the cargo pods, and then we're gonna mount the landing gear directly below them so that we have 3 total. This should give the ship a much more whole stable look, in my opinion. And that's pretty much it. That should complete your build now. Now all you need to do is finalize the current design and then you'll have your ship. Just be very careful not to select swap with current ship or you will remove the existing starship that you have. You want to add it to your collection so you don't delete anything. That would be a big and pretty costly mistake if you ended up doing it. Also feel free to name the ship anything you like. I personally don't have a preference right now, so it's up to you. As for the interior, I placed the 2 cargo storage container links towards the back of the ship so it's more easily accessible when landed, and then these extension halves on the sides I've made into a medical bay, which does have functionality for healing when close to your ship, and then a captain's quarters for a single person. It's not very big, but it's good enough for right now until there's more crew. Then towards the forward section, you've got the Star Wars-esque nutrition processor, cafeteria, and then a mission radar system to take missions well out and about. I also placed one of these hollow tables that you can get from the standard building menu for building bases in what I call is the command center. And then finally, the forwardmost tab, I've put in a refinery. You can actually put in more than one if you like to refine more than one thing simultaneously, but it's up to you. The designs of these interiors, by the way, these white ones are the ambassador interiors, just in case you wanted to try that one out instead of doing the one that I had shown off in the beginning, which is the Thunderbird interior. That's the Star Wars-esque one. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and from here you can build out your ship however you like it, starting with this as a base design and then expanding out as you find more parts, and maybe grow the crew to a couple of friends. This is what I ended up with after expanding on the design. I added a new deck, I changed the entry point to the front, and I changed up the profile just a little bit because it's so much longer than it was before. But this gave me a lot more room for a bunch more storage containers on the first deck, plus an awesome lounge and a medical bay all in the same room that has a window looking out onto the surroundings, and a spare room I'm still trying to figure out what to do with. Then up a ladder up to the main deck, you've got your crew habitation area, room for 2 for now. I could probably add a few more bunks in that bonus room. We've got the nutrient processor, cafeteria, the planning room, and some other amenities like the mission terminal, and room for way more in the future. But again, I haven't decided on a name of this ship. I'd love to know what you guys think they should be called down below, and also if you wanted to share what you guys came up with on your own, or share how you've changed up the original design, you can join us on our Discord down below. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed the video, and hope to see you in the next one.